Hey, Malcolm, good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, absolutely, man. Anytime. Happy to talk to you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. So we'll jump right into it. You got a really dynamic, exciting businesses. I'm excited to hear, what do you attribute your growth to?
Really it's community, right? I think where you build is also important. It's just as important as what you're building. I've been able to build in some very nice places, like Houston for now, OKC, and the community has been really supportive, making introductions and willing to do pilots. So yeah, it definitely has a lot to do with like where you're actually building your product or your business.
And it sounds like you are getting into the community, investing in the community, and they're investing in you. Would that be a fair?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a give and take.
That's great. I love it. So, what makes your business unique?
Yeah, so just a little bit of background, Meander is a real-time customer feedback platform for travel companies. And so what we do is we replace those post-trip email surveys with real-time insights that can be used to improve efficiency for any travel organization. And so what makes us, really unique is that right now, a lot of the survey products and customer feedback products are like industry agnostic. And so they don't take into account the specific travel journeys. But Meander is built around travel exclusively. We integrate travel schedules, flight schedules, train schedules, disruptions. And so our product is built around the nuances of travel, and it's really intelligent how it reacts to how it captures feedback and personalizes the feedback loop. So yeah, I mean, I think what makes us different is that we're built for a specific industry, and so our product reflects that.
That's incredible. How did you end up coming up with this idea?
Oh wow, it really is a long story. So I spent around 15 years developing software for companies like Dell, Hulu, Texas Instruments.
Hmm.
Um, but half of that time I spent as a digital nomad. So traveling around the world really writing code. It was a ton of fun. Well, except until COVID hit, that changed a lot of stuff. But I was able to travel a lot, and one particular sort of occurrence happened that really changed my mind about how I think travel companies should collect feedback. Um, Long story short, I had a very terrible flight experience on the way overseas, and I ended up posting about that on social media, and it went absolutely viral.
Hmm.
And then I found that the first place to get bad news about travel ends up being Twitter or Facebook. Like
Ah,
that's why all the that's why all the feedback gets lost. Um, and so I realized that there was a gap there that probably could be filled, and so I just started coding away, and that's kind of how the idea got started.
that's amazing. Yeah, a
Yeah,
bad experience turns into a business.
right. Basically, yeah.
That's great. I love it. So, if you had to start from square one and do it again, what would you do differently if you're starting your business again?
So one of the things, so I now have two co-founders working with me now. But what I would have done first is I would have got my co-founders first and started building as a group. Because sometimes you can start building a business or an idea in a silo, and you don't get a ton of perspectives. So I think if I could start all over, I'd get everyone close to me in the room that I want to be involved, and we talk it out and plan it out to start. Me as a builder, I just go straight to building, and I worry about the details later. So uh, I guess that's a gift and a curse.
Yeah, that's right. You're action oriented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you're out there running so fast, like, oh, wait, there's nobody around me. So, that's great.
Yeah, yeah. I, I totally agree with that. I just getting your team together and talk about planning and roadmap and all that stuff in the beginning it would be so much helpful for me.
And do you have employees or not?
Yeah, so we do have three employees on payroll, mostly on the development side, the software development side.
Okay, that's great. So, what's your biggest learning as an employer then, since you started your business?
Well, I would say you have to really be thinking about fit and culture. In the beginning stages, you just want to get stuff done, like you're hiring anyone with the skills to get the work done. And culture and fit fall by the wayside, but once your team starts working together and the fit isn't there, it really kills the productivity, And so, that's one of the things that I think most people ignore in the beginning because they're trying to get going and cheaply
Yeah.
and fast, but you definitely have to consider that.
That's super wise. Yeah. Boy, fit is everything, and that employee
Yeah,
productivity, and then seeing your
right.
culture develop, or figuring out what you want it to be, and then seeing that develop is gratifying. But it can also, if you don't develop it, it's going to develop on its own, right?
Right. And that's not the best thing, but yeah, yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And as a leader, you set the tone for your culture.
Right, right.
That's cool. Okay, so how do you balance personal life with business demands?
I am still struggling with that. uh, a startup is a little bit different than in a traditional business in that, office hours blur, like you're taking the opportunities whenever they come. If it's on the weekend, if the call's at night, you're taking it. And so it could be an absolute challenge for tech startups to balance, business life and at home personal life. But I try to take a couple of days that I dedicate on the weekends just to spending time with my family and trying to keep our relationships together. But it's a strain on everyone around you, you know. So you definitely have to find some balance.
Boy, isn't that the truth? It's and you're not alone. As you said,
Yeah.
anybody that's built a business or they've been in business for years, it's still a struggle to try to balance that work with the really important things like family and all those things.
Right, right. I mean, you find yourself thinking about business and your company at times you shouldn't be, That's passionate and it helps, but it doesn't usually help with family
Yes.
life.
Yeah, that's so true. That's great. Um, so I want to come back to your employees just for 1 minute. What qualities, so as you're hiring now, you mentioned fit. What else do you, and somebody obviously that can do the job. Anything else you look for in quality of employees as you're hiring?
I would say promptness, just being able to show up to meetings on time, being honest about deliverables when you can't make a deadline. Because really is a ripple effect, right? Like if I promise a customer something by a certain date, and then my developers or my marketing isn't delivering by their dates, it just causes a ripple effect of lateness. And so I look for dependability, honesty, really. Like, hey, either I can do this or I can't do this in a certain amount of time. It allows me to be realistic with the people that I report to as far as customers.
That's great. Yeah. Tell them up front if we're not going to hit the number, right? Or if we're not going to hit the date.
Yeah, let's get ahead of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Last question. So there's a lot of common misconceptions about running a business. How do you address those misconceptions?
Oh man, I think this is totally my opinion. This
Yeah.
is totally my opinion. My opinion. A lot of people like to do a lot of planning and planning and planning and business plans and a bunch of stuff to before they start their business.
Hmm.
And I kind of like as a builder, I see any time that you don't spend building, even if it's not the most focused, you're losing ground, right? A better way would be talking to people who have walked the path, right?
Hmm.
So instead of, doing all these business plans and research, the best research and the best planning is going to be talking to people who have built in the same area as you, right? So I'm building a customer feedback platform for travel companies. You know, Instead of me doing a bunch of research online, how about I go speak to someone who spent 20 years working at United Airlines, you know, and really get the real details and the nuances of the industry firsthand. Um, so yeah, that's one thing I think like people put a lot of weight on research and business plans when really they should be talking to those people that walked that journey ahead of them and went through the pitfalls and the growing pains. So again, that's my opinion. It's probably a lot of MBA people, MBA students who are going to kill me on that. But yeah, I think that's the better path in my opinion.
Yeah, so I want to make sure I captured that right. What you're saying is, hey, look, people can have fun with numbers and build plans all day long, but if the time might be better spent actually going out and interviewing potential customers or interviewing potential people that have built similar or been through the same kind of experience. Is that right?
Absolutely right. Yes, your time would be better spent talking and interviewing customers and talking to people who built in the same area. I think personally.
I think that's great. That's a great piece of wisdom. I hadn't heard that one before, but I think there's a lot of truth to that. People get analysis paralysis and they sit in front of their spreadsheets and look at their pro formas and do all this planning. But at the end of the day, talk to a customer, do something.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, anytime you're building something, there's at least 10 people with the same idea in your same city. You know, you all going to have similar information from the internet and books. You know, the game changer is going in and, like, again, talking to customers, talking to people who built and had success in the area as mentors. You know, that's the stuff that's not in books, can't be taught, right? You have to go get it.
And that is awesome. Hey, Malcolm, one more question. You mentioned startups and business plans and talking to customers is more important. Can you elaborate just a little bit more on that? I think there's a good nugget of wisdom there.
No, absolutely. Again, you know, business plans have their place, but when you're working for a tech startup, this is all about high growth opportunities. You know, investors and banks are going to see tech startups as complete gambles, right? And you know, you could if you're opening a laundromat or a car wash, you know, having that 40-page business plan means a lot. You know, the bank's going to look over that. But when you're in these tech startup settings, you know, we're talking people who are gambling on millions of dollars on tech startups. They don't want to read a 40-page business plan. You know, you're not going to walk around, you know, a happy hour networking, toting your business plan around. They want to hear how many customers have you talked to, how many customers, how many LOIs you have, you know, what's your monthly recurring revenue. And so a business plan is not going to give you that. You know, going out and talking to customers, closing deals is going to do that. And so that's why I put, you know, a huge emphasis on, again, talking to customers over, trying to come up with a rock solid business plan any day. You know, there's a famous quote by Mike Tyson, right? You know, everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face. So you know, you got to live by that.
That's great. Mike Tyson wisdom. A lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
Thank you for what a great way to end it. Thank you so much for that, Malcolm. It's that's a good piece of wisdom. I really enjoyed our time together.